everybody, it's Romania Black, and we are on episode 4 of season 2, technically episode 29 of Chihayafuru, and this season is getting off to a very, very good start. I'm watching a little bit ahead, so I don't have any comments to really talk about, but can you blame me for watching ahead? Because the tournament so far, we're already into it. It's starting out great. Scuba, we've already got character development with him. There are new crack ships sailing. Chihaya is on fire. She was so serene last episode. I love that for her. And we've gotten this weird, mysterious, like somehow Shinobu knows Arata. I need to know more by the end of it. So yeah, can you blame me for watching ahead? No. So I'm really enjoying this. I'm liking the character development we're getting over across the board with all of our characters. Even Nishida, who didn't have as much character development, I would argue, as some of the other characters last season, is getting to where he's like being a mentor for Scuba. I love that for him. Kana and Sumire are getting like to bond together. It's so far, Chihayafuru is checking off all the boxes on character development for me, and I'm living for that. So, since I've got a little extra time with y'all before we start this episode and this reaction, I want to give a special shout out over to our philanthropy tier over on Patreon. Y'all, I appreciate everybody supporting me on YouTube. If you have not subscribed to this channel and you are watching this video, what you waiting on? If you've not liked this video, what are you waiting on? So I appreciate all the support over on YouTube, but the Patreon that I have is really the bread and butter that keep this channel afloat, and y'all are incredible and amazing. I am so thankful for all of my patrons. I have 4 different tiers over on Patreon. The first 2 tiers are $1 and $5 a month, and that gives you access to the polls. If you're in the $5 tier, you get videos a week earlier than everybody else on the internet, and you also get access to all of the Patreon commissions a week ahead of time, even if you're on the $1 tier. So those are all very supportive, and I appreciate that so much. But the philanthropy tier pay an extra $5 each month to support the channel. They help me pay for subscriptions. They help me pay for different files and programs that I use to be able to do these reactions. So you all on Patreon help me out so much. But the philanthropy tier get 2 special perks. They not only get to break ties if there is a tie in the poll, and it has happened. There have been many a philanthropy tier tiebreaker. Not recently, but in the past, oh yeah. And it's probably going to happen in the future because we have some crazy polls coming up on the channel. But also they get a shout out each week in my videos. And I'm happy to shout out these people for supporting me so much. So thank you dearly to Alex Cornejo, to Be Happy, who is one of our moderators, to Bisa, to Dana, Damage3245, Devorin, Daniel, Destiny Marie, Eric, Ichu, Fisho, Ghostly Turnip, Elfreya, Lyndon, Liam Posel, Murphew, Mochi Coon, as well as Willie Morris. And then we also have Sunspots, Shimoyama, Translucent Men, and James. So thank you all so much for your support. I greatly appreciate it. All of my love. And there are 4 commission tier spots, but those commission tier spots, there's only 4 of them, and they have been full for months. So if you can snag a spot and have me watch a random movie every month, then try your best. But yeah, I'm so thankful for all the support, and this month has been outrageous. I have loved it, but Chihayafuru season 2 has been on fire so far, and I'm just ready to get into it. Now, I'm going to be honest with y'all. I was outside last night for a Halloween function, and I was outside all the time, and so my throat is a little scratchy this morning. I feel fine, but my throat is a little bit scratchy. So if I'm coughing a little bit or a little bit scratchy, it's because I was talking verbosely outside for hours. So we did pumpkin carving. It was fun. Fall festivities. Do what you can. So I've talked enough. We're going to get started with episode 4 of season 2 of Chihayafuru. See what we get next in this tournament. And we're going to do this here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. I am in love with this tournament. It's so good. This season. Why? Chihaya came out swinging. Chihayafuru was just like, we're going to come out and just hit the ground running. We're only 4 episodes in, by the way. Only 4 episodes in, and next week is the finals of this qualifier. So the fact that we're already to the qualifier finals in episode 5 of this season makes me very excited to see, like, what are we getting into? Like, how further are we going into? Are we going to have episodes where we're not having Karuta matches and it's more character focused? Are we going to have are we going to dive into the Masters qualifiers? Like, because we have the high school championship. Like, these are the pre-qualifying rounds. And Nationals still has to come after this. So we have to, the top 2 teams are going to Nationals. So basically, it's gonna be both teams. Retro Coon's team and our team with Chihaya and Taichi and everybody else they're both going to the national championship. I'm assuming it's more of a seeding thing where, depending on whether you win or not, depends on where you get seated at the tournament for the team matches, and then there's the individual matches as well. So that's what we have to look forward to. So this episode made me a bit nervous, though, because I was like, surely they're going to beat Hiroshi's team, because this was the semifinals. At first, I thought that they were going to maybe face Retro Coon's team in this episode and then determine, like, who would face Hiroshi's team. But the fact they were facing them right off the bat, I was like, ugh. But then I was like, okay, well, they're going to have, as the match kept going on, I was like, they're going to have to beat Hiroshi's team to make it to the finals. And then the top 2 teams are going to nationals, which means their team and Retro Coon's team. But this episode was definitely about establishing why Taichi is not Class A and what is happening with Taichi. Because Taichi is one of our main characters, and I would argue Taichi's had the most character development so far out of all of the characters, which makes sense. Chihaya is, I feel... This is going to sound weird when I say it. It's going to sound so weird when I say it, and y'all will just have to work with me on it. But I feel as if Taichi's like Piccolo in Dragon Ball Z to Chihaya's Goku, and Arata is Vegeta. You work with me. I mean, because Piccolo in Dragon Ball Z goes through a lot of character development and character growth, and him and Goku become super tight. But then you have Goku and Vegeta and the inspiration and all of that, and we'll get into that. You can make your parallels. You could parallel Taichi to Vegeta if you want to, but I kind of like Taichi as Piccolo because he's more of a developed character. But Vegeta is too. Anyway, enough Dragon Ball Z references. The point is, Chihaya is very much like girl is just, she's into Karuta. She's Karuta sexual. I'm crack shipping her with Hiroshi because I think it could work out down the road. But Hiroshi and Chihaya as a ship is my solution to the love triangle. We're just going to take Chihaya out of the equation and ship her with Shinobu or Hiroshi and solve all of our problems. And then I don't have to worry about whether she ends up with Taichi or Arata because she's with Shinobu or Hiroshi. Problem solved. Oh. And here's the thing. I'm not opposed. I know a lot of people that watch these reactions are Taichi Chihaya shippers. I know you're there. I see you every week. I know you're in the comments. And you're frustrated that I'm not aboard the train like you are. That's fine. We all have different ideas about shipping. I am not opposed to a Taichi and Chihaya ship, but Chihaya does not view Taichi romantically right now. I'm sorry, she doesn't. She views him as a friend and as someone that she's very close to, and she loves him, but not in a romantic way like Taichi does. And it's torturous for me as a shipper to watch someone with unrequited love, because I'll be honest with y'all, I relate to Taichi a lot. I give him a hard time because I relate to him and because I've been there in a lot of the scenarios. I talked about it last season, but in this episode alone, I'm like, no. And even Hiroshi, I related to Hiroshi in this episode. I'm like, no, I get it. I know where y'all are coming from. But because I've been in Taichi's shoes and have had unrequited love towards somebody that just viewed me as a friend, I'm like, Taichi, you can say you love them all day long, but if they don't love you back, you're wasting your time. And I'm like, it would be better for me if Taichi just loved Chihaya as a friend and as a person without any other expectation. And I'm sure people in the comments would be like, well, he's not expecting, he wants to be in a relationship with her. He does. He loves her. He wants to at this point. Now, whether that evolves and develops further, we shall see. Do not spoil it for me. We will figure out as the show goes. Let me cook. Let me have my opinions, even if you know they're going to be proven wrong, right? So let's dive into this episode. Let's get away from Taichi for a hot second and talk about, this episode is called To Tell People in the Capital That I Make for the Islands. And there's an island the moment we start this episode, which is around where Arata is from. So you can interpret this title in a lot of different ways. You could interpret it too as an escape. So you're escaping from civilization, you're escaping from the bustling city and going to a more remote location. You could interpret it as I'm getting away from the normal and I'm moving to back to the primordial basics, which is kind of where it ties into Taichi, the idea of moving back to the basics, which we're going to talk about in this episode. You could also say that it's talking about, I think of March Comes In Like a Lion, which is another sports anime that's very similar to Chihayafuru, where in that series, it's the idea of each island is a rung up the ladder and you go from one island to the next. And so the capital is kind of like the foundation where all of the common folk are. And as you go up to each island, it gets harder and harder and the skill level gets more and more demanding. So you could interpret it in a lot of ways. But we go to where the grave of the grandfather is, which 3 years, time flies in this series, right? Time flies. So I want to point out two things. One, Arata is a mixture of his grandfather and his mother. He does not look like his dad at all. Does not look like his father at all, except for hair color. That's literally it. He looks like he has his grandfather's eyes. He has his mother's face. He looks very much like his mom and his grandfather, which I can relate to Arata in that respect because I look nothing like my father. I don't really look like my mother. My father and my grandfather on his side look nothing alike. And so my dad took after his mother's side of the family, and I basically am my grandfather with a wig. I have my mother's voice, a few features of my mother, but I'm mostly my grandfather. If you popped a wig on his head, I'm my grandfather, basically, the female version of him. And so I relate to Arata a little bit. I can still hear his voice sometimes. The fact that the dad was eating food from the memorial shrine says a lot about how unserious he is. And Arata's dad and Arata are very different people. And you can tell that right off the bat that, Arata reveres his father so much. Whereas his dad's more like, come on, let's go get back. His dad is very nonchalant. His dad also strikes me as a working class guy, like a blue collar guy that did not appreciate Karuta because he just didn't see the value in it and he's more pragmatic. Whereas Arata really respected it. I like the mom is like, what are you doing? Those sandwiches are there as an offering. What are you doing? And Arata's like, I can understand why my grandpa and my dad never got along. Yeah. I like that Arata's just like, I'm tolerating my father. He's like, your grandpa didn't like me because I wasn't interested in Karuta. So the dad's got some pent up tension based on that, based on the fact that he didn't think his dad liked him because he didn't like Karuta, which I'm sure his dad liked him, let's be real. But he's got some trauma from that. And then she's like, and I like that the mom steps in, she's like, your quarrels were the reason that you took a job in Tokyo and forced Arata to switch schools. And he's like, well, but you made friends there, right? I like the dad's like, hey, let's not blame me for everything that went down. He's like, you made friends there, right? Which, to the dad's credit, Arata did make a lot of friends in Tokyo, specifically Taichi and Chihaya, and his life has been changed by them and shaped by them. So, and I like that the mom is keeping up with some of the Karuta things going on. She's like the Tokyo High School regionals today. I like the mom is taking an interest in Karuta, and she's like, hey, the regionals going on today, just in case if I bet your friends are doing well in this. I want to say, I like the differences between Arata compared, Taichi and Chihaya have very similar family dynamics. They each have a sibling. They each have a sister. Taichi's the older one. Chihaya's the younger one. But they each have a sibling that's a sister that seems to be, in some regards, based on what we've seen so far, favored by the parents. The parents don't really care about Karuta, nor do they really show an interest in their child's interest in Karuta. So I feel like Taichi and Chihaya have similar family dynamics, and they can relate on that point, right? Whereas Arata's an only child. He's the only kid. And on top of that, his family are actually really supportive of him. His dad doesn't like Karuta, but he supports Arata doing it. The mom supports Arata doing it and is keeping up with what's happening with his friends because she's like, hey, your friends are doing this, all that. And they both seem rather supportive of him, and they seem like they have a pretty good family dynamic, all things considered, with what's gone on with them. So I think that's kind of refreshing to see. And they're like, are your friends doing well? And even the dad's like, you should talk to them more. You should be more social, you know, or your friends are going to forget about you. And Arata's like, I doubt that would happen, because he thinks of Chihaya. Now, and you can really see, I said back in season 1 that Arata's phone was red because in the darkness it looked darker, but you can see it's pink now. I feel, though, as if when Arata says, in my mind, our Misty Bridge is not a cell phone, but something else. So it's Karuta. I feel like it's Karuta. I feel like Karuta is the bridge that gets them together. And so I wonder if the request to his family is, if he wins the high school championship, will he move to Tokyo? Will he decide to go back there? And now, do I think Arata would join the same high school that Chihaya and Taichi are at? That would be crazy. I don't know if that would happen. That seems wild. Chihaya would be like, oh my god, Taichi would melt into a puddle and drown. Or maybe not. Or maybe not. Or maybe not. Maybe he'd embrace it. Maybe he would embrace it. Maybe it'd be a good challenge for him. I don't know. Or would Taichi move in the same district as them so he could compete with them, but would be at a different school? Or maybe he will know Shinobu and maybe he'll move in where she's at. I don't know. I just feel like his request is to move in the same area as them so he can play with them more often. I feel like that's the request, but I could be wrong. Please, no spoilers. We're going to find out in the episode. So then we get the intro. So this episode starts out after the introduction with Harata and his 2 ladies that he's traveling with, his 2 proteges, going to the finals. And Harata is so excited. He's like, yes, I'm ready to see them. I'm so excited. And the ladies are like, they're worried about Taichi and his luck. And so a lot of this episode, and the reason I brought Whiteboard Kun out specifically, is to talk about Taichi. Is to talk about our boy Taichi and what his issues are. So we're going to put him up here. Because right now, Arata and Chihaya, they're doing great. The one guy, Hiroshi, is my anime crush in this series. I freaking love Hiroshi. He's like one of my favorites. I have such an anime crush on him. But he tries to use the guy to throw Chihaya off and be like, I want to date you. And at first, for like 5 seconds, it works. And then she locks in and she's like, actually, I'm Karuta sexual. So thanks, nice try, but no. Good for Chihaya. Good for Chihaya. I love that about her character, that she's not the stereotypical girl like Sumire who would be like, oh, you love me? But instead Chihaya's like, nah, I'm fine. I'm practically asexual. It's cool. So I love that for her. But yeah, so Taichi, the girls point out how much bad luck he has. The AC running out above him, the fact that he gets the worst matches, the worst scenarios, all of that. But honestly, you know what? It is easy, and Harata touches upon this. It is easy to use bad luck as an excuse. It really is. You can say, oh, I have bad luck, I'm jinxed, all this. But the reality is that these scenarios happen to a lot of people all the time. It makes me think of an episode of Drag Race. So I watch Drag Race a lot when I'm not on this channel. And there's an episode, one of the challenges in that show, because it's a reality TV show challenge thing. One of the challenges is they have a roast or a speech that's like a comedy stand-up. And they get an order picked of who goes in what order. And a lot of the seasons, everybody in the show, all the contestants freak out because of what order they're in. Like, ideally, you don't want to go first or last, because if you go first or last, there's a lot of pressure on you to start off the roast, and there's a lot of pressure to end the comedy challenge and be the last thing the judges remember. So most contestants want to go right in the middle so that if they do bad, it's forgettable. If they do good, there's no pressure. So in one season, like the last season that I watched, one of the characters freaked out because they were placed directly following a contestant that was really good at comedy. And they were like, well, you've set me up to fail because this person's going to be amazing. And then I have to follow them and it's not going to work out. The contestant that they were placed after had this confessional. And what they said made so much sense and has stuck with me like months after watching this show. They said, it does not matter where you are placed. What matters is your perception and reaction to where you are placed. Where you are placed means nothing. The challenge isn't about that. It doesn't matter where you're placed. It will not affect your rank. How you react and are emotionally affected by that placing will determine how you place. And in this episode, when Taichi is worried at the beginning of the match while they're setting things up, he's like, oh, Hiroshi's team keeps changing the order. There's no pattern. Like, where does everybody fall into? We have to worry about where are they going to go? How are they going to face up? How are the matchups going to go? What's going to happen? That doesn't matter. And that's part of one of the things that Harata... So, for example, the order of the matchups. A lot of this is going to come down to an aspect of trust. Trust in the team. That's a big part of this. So when Taichi was freaking out about the order, Harata tries to like give him a hint being like, hey, that's not going to matter. What's going to matter is you and how you play. So sometimes you can't guess. You can try to use patterns and predict how things might go, but you can't fully know and understand how it's going to end up. So you just have to go with your gut feeling and then just let the cards fall as they will, right? But they're like, he puts in all this effort. Why can't he win a tournament? And so the one girl says he never catches a lucky break when he needs the most. We're going to come back to that. We're going to come back to that as we go through this. I'm going through this episode chronologically. We're going to come back to all this. Don't you worry. But the girls are convinced that it's bad luck. So I thought of Love Actually, the movie when Sumire was having the cookies that she made. Because in Love Actually, the one girl, she's in love with Hugh Grant's character. And she makes him like biscuits with chocolate and everything on it and cookies and things like that and gives them to him. In that movie, he falls in love with her. And he kind of, appreciates the biscuits because they're different than what's usually given to him, which are like boring and bland. So it works out. Poor Sumire does not work out in this. Girl tried her hardest. The cookies look amazing. I could not make those cookies look that symmetrical and uniform in design. Girl should go on Great British Baking Show if this doesn't work out for her. But she tries to make them, and he's like, oh, I avoid eating anything solid before a match. And she's like, Which... I feel for Sumire in this moment because I've been that girl that made something for someone out of like trying to show an act of affection. And they were like, cool, I don't really actually like that. And I was like, so I feel for her. I feel for her so much. And I also understand where Taichi's coming from because a lot of people, I coach a forensics team. A lot of people, when we go to tournaments, they're like, I can't eat anything solid after breakfast. I'll get nervous. No, can't do it. And it's like, okay, fair enough. Fair enough. So I felt bad for Sumire. I'm glad at least that the little three brothers of Scuba and Nishida ate the cookies because I was going to feel bad for if she went to all that work and then nobody ate the cookies. But thankfully Nishida's got an iron stomach. You don't even care. Nishida's like me. Like I am like Nishida. I get a headache if I don't eat anything. My blood sugar and everything, I have to have like 3 square meals a day or my body is completely thrown out of whack. So I am like Nishida. I'm like, give me the food. I need the carbs. I need the fuel. I need the sugar. And then Chihaya's sitting there with the chocolate. I like that both Chihaya and Kana look a little bit nervous about Taichi. And he's like, don't think too much. Our dude thinks too much. He does. If I lose after all this, what will it be for? That's why it's important that I do my best. So Harata comes in, he's like, there they are. I like that they perform basically a seance on Taichi being like, let me examine the chi and all this. Make sure. He's like, it's twice as exciting for me, but also quite distressing. Haven't you heard? And then we see Hiroshi, the team to defeat last year's Dark Horse, is going to be this year's Dark Horse, Home. If I didn't love Hiroshi enough already, the fact that he's a coach now makes me so excited. And I did not even think about it in the previous episode when they were talking about like him being being a teacher. It did not click in my brain that, oh, he's a teacher. He could also coach Karuta. It did not click in my brain, but now it does. And I'm like, I don't blame all these kids. He's like a young, hot coach. Why would you not want to be on his team? I would sign up in a heartbeat. I'd be like, yes, please. Like, come on now. But I love him. And that is intimidating. Like, this was honestly I feel like it's one of their more intimidating opponents because it's being led by your peer that you look up to, that you know is successful. And so you know he's going to be teaching these students something really good. And I do like that Scuba and Sumire are like, we don't know who this is. We don't get this. Is this a problem? It's like, yeah. And it's also like a psychological manipulation because, Hiroshi knows how to play the game. He knows Taichi and Chihaya's weaknesses and he can exploit them because he was played with them for years. Like, there was so much that like upped the stakes in this match that I really liked. The ace of the Shiranami Society that they're all in. And here's the thing. Taichi is like, oh my God, I'm terrified about this. And then he looks over at Chihaya and she's like, and here's the deal. I know you all will make fun of me in my crack ship of Hiroshi and Chihaya, my ultimate crack ship. I know you will make fun of me. I am fully aware that Chihaya is not romantically interested in Hiroshi. I know that. I'm just having fun with ships because ships are fun. I know that. But what she is like head over heels for is the fact that he is doing exactly what she wants to do. He has graduated high school, has gotten a teaching degree, and is coaching Karuta to these students. Like, that's what Chihaya needs to do. Girl needs to be a teacher and coach Karuta. That needs to be her career goal. She needs to become a teacher, coach Karuta. That needs to be her career goal. That, like, she was so enamored by him and what he was doing that it fits for Chihaya. And it's so perfect. The idea of him like getting the t-shirts for the team, inspiring them, coaching them on what to do. Like that's what she needs to do because I think she would excel at that. And it's just funny because, she's like blushy faced and making all like the spring blossoms of youth towards Hiroshi. And Taichi's like, I wish she would look at me that way. Bless his heart. I'm just completely, it's hilarious. And he's like, I don't understand what gets you excited. Taichi, you should understand what gets her excited. It's Karuta. It's people falling in love with the activity. The reason why she loves you and Arata is because of your love of Karuta. Taichi, get that through your head, my dude. Yes, of course that gets her excited. He's like, everyone's worked so hard to make it this far. Every card counts. I love that her shirt says every card counts. Chihaya would do something like that, right? I love it. And I love that the students are all excited about everything. And then poor Sasa. I love Sasa. Sasa was like, she's obsessed. I didn't know if it was legal for her to put her arm over the cards like she was. I thought that they got onto Scuba for that, but maybe there's something to it. Maybe I'm missing a little Karuta rule. Somebody in the comment will explain. But I liked that, we'll talk about her and Taichi in their matchup, but I liked that she was really dedicated and wanted to win, and Hiroshi was encouraging to her. I love they do the team huddle, and it's so adorable, and he's like, will you take me to Omi Jingu? Like, oh. And that is one advantage that a team that's led by somebody that's played Karuta would have, because I love the Empress. I love her. The Empress is amazing. I love Kana's mom helping. I love them being there, and Dr. Harada comes as support, which is needed. But one thing that I think Taichi and Chihaya and everybody's team struggles with at Mizusawa is they don't have a seasoned like Karuta player as their mentor. They're really just kind of coaching themselves. And there are student-led teams in speech, but they have to work like twice as hard because they don't have a professional that's an adult that's experienced leading them and offering advice. And that makes it hard. So I feel for them. I really, really do. But yeah, so Taichi's worrying about the order. And then Hiroshi's like, go easy on us, reigning champions. Hiroshi was devious. He was devious in this. He knew exactly what he was doing. So devious. And that just made Taichi even more self-conscious because he's known Hiroshi Subagochi as since they were kids. And now he's like, he's just nervous. So the two girls from the Karuta Society bring him like the good luck charms. I'm like, girls, don't bring him the good luck charms. They'll probably cancel each other out. And then Harata gives him the advice. An individual match is a team match, and a team match is an individual match. And that, I freaking love it. I freaking love it. It's so relatable, especially for speech as well, because if you think about it, your individuals all make up a team. So in an individual match, you really are working for the team, right? So your individual success will benefit the team. And that translates over to in team matches, it's really about you as the individual and the best that you can do. Because here, think about it. If you're doing individual matches, you're focused on yourself. But overall, each of your little successes will add up to a team success. That's true. But in a team match, you can't control how your fellow teammates are going to do. So what you have to do is trust in two things. You have to trust in yourself, and you have to trust in the team if you're going to win in an individual match, because you can't determine how the others will do. I will make the comparison that my best friend and I were teammates when we were in college competing, and we made it to a semifinal round at nationals. And there were 8 semifinalists. And in order to get in the finals, they split into 2 semifinal rounds, and they were going to take the top 2 from each semifinals into the final. And there was only going to be 4 finalists. So my best friend and I ended up in the same semifinal together, which was stressful because we're like, oh, you and I have to be first and second to get into finals. If we're not first and second, if one of us is third, we're not making it. So we have to beat our opponents from other schools. And so it would be easy if that were like Taichi and Chihaya, for Taichi to worry about, oh, how's Chihaya going to do? Is she going to be able to make it in the top 2? We all have to go together and we have to do this. But from my experience, when we got in that semifinal, we just had to worry about ourselves. I trusted that my best friend knew her speech like the back of her hand and had it down. I was going to do amazing. And I had to worry about me. And I had to focus on how I was going to do because I wanted us to get there together. But I trusted that my best friend was going to make it as well. And spoilers from like 20 years ago, we both did. We both made it to the final because we were the top 2 in the round. And so, but it was because we trusted ourselves and we trusted each other, and we weren't worried about what each other was doing. We just focused on what we had to do in the moment. We were present in the moment. Taichi has a hard time trusting himself, and he has a hard time trusting in his teammates because he's worried for them. He's worried for them. He cares, and he wants them to do the best, but because he cares so much and he overthinks things, he doesn't have that trust in them like he should. And that's why Harata gives him that advice, and he doesn't figure it out until towards the very end of the match. So we see this one team in blue that clearly loses, and Retro Coon's team is going to make it to the final. I think it's funny that normally the red shirts in series are the ones that are like the early outs, and Retro Coon's team are red shirts, and they've made it this far, so that's fun. But yeah, so Taichi's worried about what he means. I like the Sasas, like a Sasa would be so much fun to cosplay at a convention if you were Sasa from Chihayafuru. One, her cosplay would be very easy because she just has her hair pinned back. It'd be like if I pinned my bangs back, I could be Sasa. And then you just get a yellow sleeved like baseball shirt and put the thing on it and have like blue like track pants. That'd be an easy cosplay. But if you just walked around like this, she'd be so much fun. I would love to cosplay as her at a convention. She'd be great. But he has the 2 Lucky Charms. So we get the, I like that the readers are establishing a challenge for our competitors, because the readers, they decided to get a different reader for each round, which I actually really like that idea, because it makes less bias, and it makes it more unpredictable. And it also tests your skill. Like, can you perform under different readers? Which is fun. The problem is one of the readers that they have for this round is a Class B reader, so he's not as good. Like, that pause, he took it that one card, that threw me off. I was like, say something. And then the next time he just immediately went into it. So yeah, I like that we're establishing that there is an art to the reading and a rhythm, and it will throw you off. Like, Kana was a great example. She was getting freaked out because the rhythm wasn't matching, and she's like, this is like when the beat's off. And Taichi had to, pull her back in. Which does beg the question, our crew, do they each need... They need to each have enough practice to exhibit that trust. Taichi was worried about Kana because he didn't trust that she'd be okay to like get herself back on rhythm. And I think that this team needs to practice and build that trust and, have faith in one another, right? So they start out the match, and then this one guy's like, you're totally my type. And again, Hiroshi's like, Chihaya she doesn't know how to react romantically to people. And Taichi was so pissed. I loved how mad he got. He's like, quit having people hit on her in front of me. You're taking advantage of her personality. But also, I think Hiroshi knows. That Taichi likes her. And I think Hiroshi is like, oh, hey, I'm also going to mess with your brain because you're going to get flustered and worried about her. Maybe Hiroshi doesn't know that Taichi loves her, but... And I think Arata knows, which he was like he kind of looked at Hiroshi like, you're doing some backhanded things. I get why you're doing it, but And he's like, I like to call Taichi eyelashes. They're like, he's their mental leader. Are you sure you should be glaring at me and not your opponent? So then we see Mochita-kun. Sweet Mochita-kun for Retro-kun's team. I like that he's here. That's great. I like that he's still playing around even though Pseudo's graduated. I miss Pseudo. I really do. Pseudo was a fun presence in season 1. I do miss him. So yeah. Then they talk about the rhythm. The girls think that Taichi is at such a disadvantage. I like they talk about Karuta being a dance. And he's like, Chihaya and Nishida are fine. And he's like looking over to Kamino. And Hiroshi's watching the entire time. And I think Hiroshi and Harata have realized the same thing about Taichi. It's not just the bad luck and the order of the matchups. It is, he is concerned for all more than himself. He's concerned for himself. We'll get into that. But he's too concerned with everybody else. He needs to have that trust in them. Which Chihaya kind of acts the opposite of Taichi sometimes in this respect, because she kind of loses herself in Karuta and forgets to check in on other people. So it's good that Taichi is a good team leader, but he's putting so much pressure on himself to be the team leader when he needs to focus on himself, right? And then when he focuses on himself, that's a whole different ball game. Because, yeah, he's like, Taichi is very caught up in his inner saboteur. He's like, I need to focus. And so then the one girl, she is like super focused. Here's something that was interesting. Taichi doubts. One thing that he has is his doubts of his own experience. And his pride versus his shame. I had some people comment saying that Taichi wasn't actually good at Karuta when he was in elementary school, and that was part of it. I know he lost to Chihaya, but the thing is, Taichi has a natural ability for Karuta. I think that's what I was more trying to say. Taichi is naturally good at Karuta. He's always been good at memorizing. He's always been good at knowing the cards, but so he's naturally been good at it since he was a kid. His problem is he doubts his own experience. And he does this awful thing of comparing to others' skill, and also making assumptions. So, for example, we get this backstory about Sasa where she's been studying Karuta and playing it for years before she even joined the Karuta Society, because she was just too scared, because when she tried to join, it was like nobody was taking it seriously. It's kind of like what would have happened if, if Chihaya hadn't persuaded Scuba and Sumire to take more investment into it, right? So because of that, Sasa never really had the courage to join the society, but when Hiroshi showed up, she got really inspired and got involved. During this episode, Taichi goes, he's like, I'm doing awful against this girl that's just now started playing. But he doesn't know. Again, throughout this series, Taichi is not a reliable narrator because his inner saboteur skews his perception. He's like, why am I losing against this girl that just started? I'm like, Taichi, she didn't just start. She's been playing Karuta for about as long as you have, just not competitively at a school setting against other people. So he automatically is assuming things about people that are not true. And it alters his perception of himself. And it's really like, it's so relatable because it's this lesson of you cannot assume what your opponent's work ethic has been like. You can't do that. You can't do that. As a coach, from my perspective as a coach, when we go to a tournament and if someone gets, third place in a tournament and the first place person, they're like, well, I don't understand what was the reason they won. And I'm like, well, they probably put in a lot of work. And I think it's easy to make the excuse of, oh, what's wrong with me, rather than what do I need to do to get better? I think there's an urgency and there's an urge, rather, to give an excuse of why they beat you, rather than just say, I need to trust myself more and trust the process and trust what work I've put in. It's so easy to compare between yourself and someone else. And I've been there. It's so easy to compare. But if you walk in with that mindset, like Taichi starts to dig himself into a hole at first where he's like, there's no way I can beat, my skills just aren't good enough. You've put in the work. And there's shame that Taichi feels in a way because he doesn't feel like he's put in enough work. But there's also a pride issue. Like he's just now getting to where he'll practice the swings because he had this perception of how he appears and he didn't want to, put off a certain vibe. And it's like, just let that go, Taichi. Let that go and embrace what you love. And if you love Karuta, I feel like that's the thing. Taichi loves Karuta and he loves that it's making him better himself. And it's something that he's working towards to prove himself and a skill that he's proving. But Taichi has not realized openly that he loves Karuta. I think that's something, I think he's giving excuses as to why he plays. He's like, oh, I'm playing because I'm trying to win Chihaya's hand, or I'm playing because I want to beat Arata. Whereas he just needs to come out and admit that he's playing it because he wants to do something for himself and better himself. Like he just needs to let go of that pride and shame and just get in there and admit it, right? But he's like, when he tells himself that it's skill that he lacks, then he starts to fall into this pit. And it's literally your inner saboteur, right? He doesn't believe, he has the belief that he doesn't have the talent. And he has the talent. He has the talent. He just doesn't believe or trust in himself that he does. And he doesn't have the self-love that he needs. And I want to just grab Taichi by the shoulders and shake him. The worst thing you can do as a competitor is compare yourself to someone else in a round and think they're going to do better than you. That is the worst thing you can do because you've just automatically started digging yourself a grave. You can't do it. You can't do it. You have to believe in yourself. So, and then he starts to worry. He's like, we're not doing as well as we did in the last match. You can't worry about that. Every match is different. He's like, you need to check the cards. And that montage where he sees Chihaya and the word talent comes out, because Chihaya has a lot of natural talent. But I would argue that just as Chihaya has some natural talent, girl has had to work her butt off. Girl has worked her butt off to get better. She is just as talented as Taichi, but Taichi is just as talented as her. Like, they both have to work really hard. Then he sees Shinobu and he sees Suo and he thinks talent. And it's like, yeah, but they have to work hard. We don't know about Suo so much because we've not really seen a lot of him. But Shinobu practices every day. Even if it's by herself, she practices so much that it doesn't come from nowhere, right? I know they get the label of prodigies because they don't have a teacher, but they still have that raw talent and they still have that effort put in. Now, Suo, we don't know. We don't see Suo practicing, so we don't know yet. But then he sees Arata and thinks talent. But Arata also has to work too. Taichi is assuming that he doesn't have to measure what it takes to measure up. And he's like, I need to focus. And he tries to clear his head, but the air conditioner's not working and he's just sweating. And again, this comes down to his pride. He just needs to ask for a towel. And the thing about it is, the moment he asks, 6 people throw their towels in the ring for him. And the thing that I hope Taichi gets from this episode in that scene is that there is no shame in asking for help and for acknowledging when you need something. Taichi is so concerned with trying to be this leader, and he's so concerned with trying to be flawless because he feels the team has to look up to him and take from him. And it's like, Taichi, you're a team. That's why in our speech team, we don't have captains. We don't have captains. We don't have vice captains. Everybody's on the same field. I mean, there are sophomores and freshmen, so the sophomores have a little bit more seniority and clout usually than the freshmen because they've done it for a year more than the others. But with that being said, there is no captain or vice captain. They're all on the same playing field because they're a team, right? So that's kind of, I think that's the problem, is that Taichi feels like he has to measure up to this position he's in because of the pressure of it. But your teammates know you're human. It's okay to ask for help. And when you finally do ask for help, people are ready to help you just without even, worrying about or flinching about it. I like the mentality of Hiroshi talking about Sasa controlling the flow and overwhelming him because she's trying to convince him that his worries are valid. And Harada's like, and I like Harada says, that's big talk considering you're the biggest class A slacker in our society. And Hiroshi's like, oh, but you know what? I related to Hiroshi in this moment. He's like, I had to ignore my own problems to inspire them. Because he's like, I didn't try my hardest and I was left with regrets. And I don't want them to be left with that. I feel like that, 2 things about that. One, I relate so hard. My freshman year when I competed for 4 years. I did it at a university as well. But the university was its own experience. But the first 2 years I competed, the freshman year, I worked so hard and poured myself into it. And I got the results that I wanted. My second year, I was more interested in the social aspect of it, and I slacked. I didn't work as hard as I should have, and I didn't get the results that I should have. And that is a regret that I do carry today. It's not a big regret. It's like, it's been 20 years. It's fine. But it is a regret that I have, that I'm like, I wish I'd worked harder, because then I would have probably gotten the results that I deserved. Because just like Karuta, speech is very much, it's an individual activity, but it's a team activity. But the work you put in gives you the rewards. It's still subjective. Like Karuta, I love this series because Karuta and public speaking competitively, they're very similar. You don't know the judges you're going to get. You don't know the opponents you're going to get. You don't know the speeches you're going to be up against. There's a lot of subjectivity to it. But, I tell my students, if you are undeniable, you are undeniable. If you believe in yourself and you go in with the attitude of wanting to win, you probably will. Because that's a big part of it. And so, but I relate to him in that way. And then the idea that I always hate this mentality, and I talked about it in season 1, of those who can't do teach. I hate that so much. It's so condescending. I feel like some of the best coaches are the ones that have a little spark of regret. They had success, they know what to do, but they maybe also experienced failures along the way, and they know what that feels like, and they know what it's like to crawl back out of it. I feel like those are the best coaches. The ones that had nothing but success, what are you going to impart to your students when they fail? You know, what lessons do you have to teach them? So I feel like Hiroshi having that moment of failure is a good inspiration for his students, because he's like, I know what it's like to be in your shoes, and I know how we're going to rise above it. So then we cut to Sumire, and I like Sumire's journey in this episode, where at first she's like, what do I have to do to become Taichi's girlfriend? And Scuba's like, why are we talking about this now? She knows that Taichi likes Chihaya, but she's like, Chihaya doesn't pay any attention to him, so why? And then when Chihaya offers the towel, Sumire realizes why. He loves her because of her commitment and her spirit and her kindness and her effort to support. And Sumire kind of gets inspired by that. And she's like, well, you know what? I'm on this team. It's not doing me any good just to sit here and do nothing, because that's not going to win Taichi over. She's like, I need to scout out for the team. I need to get some information. I need to know who we're up against. I'm going to help do something for the team. And I'm like, go, Sumire. Yes. Do I think Sumire and Taichi are going to end up? I was rooting for them in episode 1. I don't know. But I do like the fact that she isn't being the stereotypical jealous girl that's jealous of the guy she has a crush on liking someone else. I like she's actually being proactive and doing something about it rather than just stewing and being negative. She's trying to be proactive and help the team. Good for her. Love that. But yeah, everybody else except Taichi has a towel. And he finally asks for one. Can I have it? And like 5 get thrown at him at once from the Empress and from Kana's mom, and Sumire, and the 2 other girls. But whose towel does he use? Not any of the ones they threw at him, but Chihaya's dummy bear towel. I like poor Sutomu's like, he's like, oh God. And she's like, here's the towel. Here you go. I also, before we talk about Chihaya and the towel, I do want to note that I feel like the 2 girls had the purple and green towels because it matched the charms that they got for him. And when he looks down at her, she's like, here you go. Here's a towel. It's my dummy bear towel. You can use it. Like, just, she doesn't think anything about being kind and offering that to him. She doesn't judge him. She doesn't think that it's bad for him to ask. She's just like, here you go. And that's why he loves her. Because he's just like, you know, he loves her in that moment because he's like, you just, no one had to ask you. You just did. And that's when Sumire notices. She's like, okay, that's why. And Chihaya's like, what? Is it okay that I offer you the towel? And he's like, yeah. And Sumire's like, oh, I see. Yep. I always try to play it cool, and I feel embarrassed about losing, so I run off to tournaments far away in secret. But that's just his pride. And I'm like, Taichi, the moment that Chihaya offers him the towel without, you know, any hesitation, is showing that it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to lose. Everyone loses. Their whole team is lost. You don't have to play it cool. It's fine to be supportive and be a leader, but also acknowledge you're human, and it's okay to fumble from time to time. Yeah. He's like, I know that I'm not alone. But I love it. I love him in the black and yellow. I want to be strong even when I am alone. And that's when he kind of realizes what Arata was talking about. That's when he realizes it. He's like, I just want to be strong to be someone they can look up to. And then that's when Sumire, you're like, well, you must trust in your teammates even while you play by yourself. And that's when she's like, I'm going to go watch the other match. There's nothing else to do right now besides. She's like, there has to be something else. I love that. I love that Sumire is inspired to be someone that Taichi would love. because she sees now why Taichi loves Chihaya. And she's not Chihaya. So she's like, but I want to be somebody that he could respect, if anything. I love the idea. She's like, I want to be somebody that'd be worthy of his love. I love that. I don't know if that's going to work out for her, but I love that for her. Yeah. So I just, it's so good. And then, yeah. So then it gets down to the wire and Taichi realizes what Harata was telling him. And then it gets down to the last bit. And he's like looking at all of the different words to be said and he nails it. I'm so proud of Taichi. Good for him. Good for him. And then he's like, did everyone else win? And even he's like, I'm a failure as the president if I don't know that. I'm like, Taichi, quit giving yourself such a hard time. Quit giving yourself such a hard time. It's going to be okay. Bless him. Right? Bless his heart. But yeah, I don't know exactly who beat who. I guess it doesn't matter. He's like, how many cards were left? And that's when he says 95 were red and 5 were left. And everybody was like, he kept track the whole time. And Hiroshi asked that question to look at her and say, look, you're up against this freak of nature. Which Taichi should take as the biggest compliment. He should take it as the most complimental as he could. Because Hiroshi's like, that guy's like a Karuta freak. You are fine. You're going to be okay. He's like, he practices like crazy, and I'm inspired by the effort that he puts in. I hope Taichi hears that. I wish Taichi would have heard that. Because, like, the fact that Hiroshi, someone that Taichi looks up at, is inspired by his effort. I'm like, why weren't you listening to that, Taichi? And he gives all the towels back. And they're like, you can have all the towels you need. And, of course, all the guys, except Scuba, are like, does it really matter if he's good at Karuta when he's so popular? That's fueling my Tsutomu Scuba ship. Let me tell you, the fact that Scuba was not concerned about Taichi getting all the ladies. Fueling my Scuba ship. So, and I like that, you know, he says, oh, thank you to Hanano. And she's like, oh, it was nothing. She says, I have to be on my guard. Ayase is watching Mashima Senpai. So I like that aspect of Sumire where she's like, she doesn't want to be the homewrecker, but also she's like, Ayase is watching, but I feel like in this moment, Ayase is watching as a friend. She's not watching from a romantic standpoint. She's watching like, here, friend, here's this towel. I'm here to support you. Now, could that develop into something romantic later on? Of course it could. Of course it could. So next up we have the next group. Now, Retro-kun looks a little bit disgruntled or sad in this matchup. So did he lose his match in that last round? And the others did well and he was upset about that? I don't know. I don't know. She's like, they're going to give us their best shot. I honestly thought personally that this was gonna be maybe a two-parter, and I'm glad it wasn't, because I'm glad when the show doesn't need to drag things out. They're like, no, we're gonna have this be, it's not gonna be a One Piece episode. We're gonna have this all come out at once. So I'm glad for that. But our boy Taichi, I love the character work Taichi gets, because he's arguably has the most, because they set him up as our main protagonist, right? And I feel for him so much, and I want the best for him. So we'll just have to see where it goes. But this was such a fun episode. I'm super excited to see where we will go next week with the finals. If we're going to immediately dive in or if we're going to get anything in between. So we're going to see. But in any case, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe. Take care. And yeah, I'll be back very soon with more Chihayafuru.